Hello Internet, and welcome to my review for Tokyo Ghoul Re episode 14. It's a couple days late, that's just because I've been busy, my bad. But anyway, when we last left off, we jumped through a whole bunch of shit. We saw glimpses of Rushima, but not really. And then we focused entirely on Kaneki and Edo, as Edo announced to the world that she was a ghoul, and then got arrested by Kaneki, taken to Cochlea, where she told Kaneki about the truth of V and the Washu clan, which for anime-only people have, really never been brought up, besides, what's his face? Matsuri, the guy that Urie looked up to last season. And then Ayato and Banjo plotted to rescue Hinami from Cochlea because her execution was coming up. That's kind of where we left off, with the execution coming in. And this episode was bad. This was not a good episode by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, where to begin? From the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. It doesn't start out bad. It starts out about as well as can be expected in a series adapting 130 chapters in 12 episodes. We see, the fight begins, Ayato and the gas mask storm Cochlea, and Kaneki goes to rescue Hinami. Hinami is, Kaneki, why are you saving me? Why aren't you let me die, live your life? And we find out that Kaneki wants to die. He wants to rescue Hinami and be killed by Arima. That's his plan. And after all this time, it's just a shame that Kaneki, his self-destructive tendencies are still in full swing. It's okay. I guess that's the point. The point is that he keeps relapsing over and over again into this I have to die for others. That's his whole character. But I feel like it was just shown better in the past in the anime. Maybe it's been a while since I read this in the manga, and again, as I said last week, I kind of blazed through the manga trying to catch up before it ended. I barely made it, as anyone who saw my manga videos will know. So my memory is a little bit hazy. But I don't remember this arc. This was an entire arc in the manga. It was, interspersed with the stuff I imagine we're going to see next week. But this was 20 chapters. It was only 10 of the 20 chapters, I think, was actually this material. But the other 10 we'll get to next week on Rushima. But I don't know, it just didn't really work. And then we cut back to Ayato, who is slaughtering CCG guys left and right until he is blasted by Arima, and he has a quick match with Arima, but he's very quickly outmatched by Arima until Yomo and Toka show up to save him. And I've said before, I'm always down for a big damn heroes moment. You early Naruto. What's the line? The hero always shows up at the last minute. That's a big mood. It's a great thing. But it happens twice in this episode. And it just doesn't really work. There's no bombast. There's no dramatic heft to this episode at all. And it's a problem the episode has. In its entirety, this is some important material. People who read the manga know this episode decides the fate of all of these characters going forward. And there's nothing to signal that, really. But I'll get into that a little bit more with my next point, the Yomo flashback, where we find out that Yomo's sister is Toka and Ayato's mother, that Arima killed her, and he wants revenge. So, it does what it can. It gets the point across, it doesn't take a lot to realize, Yomo's sister is dead, and so he wants revenge for it. That's a fairly common response to dead sisters, especially murdered sisters. But it's just so shortened. This material was a gut punch in the manga. I think the manga had actually revealed that he had a sister who was killed by Arima before this. but the shock that it was the Kirishima's mother was like, oh shit. And it was like, that's why he's cared so much for these kids, and it really like put all of Yomo's character into context. And also, it was heart-wrenching. It was some heart-wrenching material that we just don't get in this episode because it's so busy trying to blaze through the cochlea raid. Like, the cochlea raid should have been at least 2 episodes. And I'll get into where I think a good endpoint would have been in a little bit. But it's pretty obvious, actually, what the good endpoint would have been. So, yeah. The Yomo flashback tries its best, but it doesn't work. Moving on, we have a quick little fight with Kaneki and Hinami are stopped by Furuta. Who Kaneki and Furuta spar for a little bit until Hinami impales Furuta like through the chest. And the last episode last episode in the manga during that Furuta and Edo scene revealed that Furuta was a clown, actually. He was a ghoul. In case his like clownish actions all through this episode would not give away the fact that he was a clown. It doesn't really come up all that much for the rest of the series, so I'm fine talking about that. And so the anime did not actually reveal Furuta's ghoulishness. But it does here. Before, of course, we see his Kakugan open up in his fight with Edo later on. But like Hinami like stabs him through like the heart or so. Maybe not exactly the heart, but still like really bad. But he still like kind of stirs. So, it shows that he's a ghoul right then and there. And then Kaneki shows up to save Yomo. After he deals with Furuta, he heads to like the main central area of Cochlea, and he fights Arima, which is the bulk of the episode. And again, like I said already, it just like when Yomo showed up, it just does not have the impact the moment was really going for. This is the big moment where Kaneki and Arima have their face-off, and, this is it. This is what was, like, this is the rematch, after what happened, at the end of Ghoul, off-screen in Route A, but you still kind of get the point. And it just, so much of this fight is just a shrug, and I'll get into all the different things it does wrong, because I have documented all of them, at least all that I could find. Someone who is much more dedicated to the series than I am could gladly point out a lot more, I imagine. But anyway, Toka, Yomo, and Ayato all run away, and they find Hinami, and I will admit, Toka and Hinami's reunion is cute. I don't like the moment where Hinami, like, genuinely thinks Toka is about to hit her. That just seemed kind of mean. She like, genuinely, like, was cowering in fear of Toka, and I don't know, I was just kind of uncomfortable with that. Anyway, we cut back to Kaneki and Arima, who have fought down into the basement. And for whatever reason, this was in the manga too, and I didn't get it at all. The basement was covered in white flowers. Like, is there a reason for that? Is it just a callback to V14? I know the anime did a lot of the original anime did a lot of symbolism with the white flowers, both with, the season 1 finale with, Kaneki seeing his mindscape and the Rize hallucination in, a field of white flowers, and of course during Yoshimura's flashback, the one white flower turning red symbolized his wife eating flesh to sustain Edo, which I could go on a tangent about that was far better than anything the manga ever did for that backstory. That's a whole other rant. But like, there's no real reason for this other than V14 had white flowers, so it's symbolism. This is the problem with the manga, not just the anime. But it's always kind of bothered me. I don't think it really accomplishes all that much being in this white flower field. But whatever it is, that's not important. I get distracted way too easily. The Kaneki Arima fight just seems to lack the heft of the manga, As I said, this was a big moment. This was the culmination of really everything Kaneki went through in the post Tsukiyama. Ever since he goes black hair, there's this whole, he's become Kaneki again, and he's kind of, leading up to this big showdown with Arima that has to come. It has to come. It's just the point of everything. And, we see this whole thing. Kaneki says, "Oh, I don't want to fight you, Arima." There's been nothing in the anime to really explain that. And then, Kaneki breaks, Arima's first Queen K. And, he has Hirako drop him the Owl Queen K from the roof, which is still weird, but whatever. This is Ghoul, it's always kind of weird. And I remember in the manga, he brings out the Owl Queen K. And it was this huge, oh, fuck, Kaneki cannot win this moment in the manga. And here... it just doesn't... There's none of that, oomph. The oomph that a part of the story like this really needs. And again, that's the problem with the entire episode, including the Hide scene. So here is where the episode should have cut off. After Arima gets the owl, he, beats Kaneki up some more, he passes out. The episode should have ended with Kaneki waking up in his mindscape, he sees Hide, cue credits. The next episode should have covered the rest of this episode. The only 8 minutes left. We should have had a shit ton more time with Hide. A lot more time just to let the Furuta and Edo stuff that I'm sure I'll talk about at some point down my notes. Yep, there it is. That should have been... That just felt really, truncated, all of the important, scenes were cut. Just, here's a before and after, which is never really good. But we do get Hide, and that's always good. And, I'm glad we got the Hide. Hide's all yo, dude, don't fucking die in a cool way. Live. But it still felt too rushed. I remember in the manga, just because I just looked this up on the wiki, just compare the two scenes, there's that whole bit afterwards where Kaneki, acknowledges that he doesn't have the ghost of Hide or Rize running around in his mind. Both of them, going way back to, Jason's torture chamber, has always been him. And that's just not here, which it would not have been hard to do, given how important that line is to his, development. It's where he realizes that it's not Hide telling him to live, it's Kaneki telling him to live, and that's super important to his character arc. That's a whole other rant. That's the entire rant, actually. Fucking fuck this episode. Anyway, this is some time to put out some important manga stuff about Hide. So, in the anime, Hide dies in Onteku from wounds inflicted by Aogiri. I think it's specifically Tadara, but I'm not entirely sure. And instead of doing that, in the manga, as Kaneki is, going down to, the sewer area, I think, where Arima is, to, have his, final battle with Arima at the end of the manga, he runs into Hide, who reveals everything he reveals to Kaneki, in the anime, except Kaneki is not in a sane state. He is full-on Kakuja, barely, conscious, and then he blacks out, and Hide is never seen again. With, of course, the assumption that Kaneki actually ate Hide. And normally, and if the Mindscape scene was done well, then the difference would have been a problem. There's a big difference in watching your friend die and killing your friend. But because the scene was so short, the little bit of grief we see from Kaneki actually kind of fits to a dead friend instead of a murder by yourself friend. So I guess that actually works, I guess. But then just like that, with none of the, normally when Kaneki goes through a lot of hair changes in this show, of course. It's a big, it's a big motif of the show, that hair changes, equal, character development. It's a symbol of character development or character change. And all the other times, Kaneki's hair has changed. When his hair went white after the torture by Jason, when his hair went black again after the fight with Karen and Edo on the top of the Lunar Eclipse, there were these big dramatic moments attached. And then here, Kaneki just gets up, and his hair is like white again, and we don't even see it. And it's... I don't fucking know. Don't fucking know. Anyway, I've been ignoring the Furuta Edo parts, and this actually mostly works. This is actually part of the good stuff of this episode. It still has its problems. It feels like all of the connecting tissue has been cut, which is something that, like, I feel like really needs to be there. You know, there should be... It's like, it feels like, you know, we see Eto, Edo's like, oh, I guess I'm gonna go out and play. And then the next time we see her, she's already at that little area where, Furuta and the V members who have showed up to, attack Ayato, Banjo, Toka, Hinami, Yomo, all them. And I feel like we should have seen, I don't know, maybe her transforming in her cell, maybe her breaking through the wall, maybe both. But instead she just, like, pops up there, and like, okay, that's where we're going now. But yeah, Furuta showed up. They're like these weird little, like, smasher things that the Ayato managed to turn off to help them escape, and Furuta turns them back on, so it's like killing gas masks left and right. But whatever. But anyway, Edo just wipes out V, because she's Edo and she can. There's just, like, random V guys. And she seems to corner Furuta, and, you know, is about to kill him. And Furuta reveals that not only is he a ghoul, he's a Rize-based half-ghoul. This will be very important, of course, because he's, you know, the counter Kaneki, in a lot of ways. And him being even without, you know, his Rize-based powers, he's already kind of the counter Kaneki. You know, Kaneki's a good guy who's just horribly depressed. And Furuta is an evil guy who's just laughing at the world. And so there's already is that nice counter between them. And just adding the Rize-based half-ghoul really does just amp that up a lot. Also, it allows him to just wipe the floor with Edo. Like, next time, like, another thing that they should not have cut, and would have been why this whole sequence would have been its own separate episode, is seeing Furuta beat Eto. Instead, like, we see his Kakugan go red. And then we see his Kagane come out. And the next time we see him, he's crushed the shit out of Edo. Alright. Whatever. But you know what? Furuta's still really fun. Like, Furuta is intrinsically a really fun villain. And, like, he's just, you know, the kind of, like, having the time of his life villain. Who also puts into a really nice contrast with the hero, and I'm glad the season does not cut out Furuta having fun. Because Furuta having fun makes him Furuta. That's why he is as fun a villain as he is. But anyway, back, and that's really, and we always see the Eto and Furuta stuff, so back onto the Arima and Kaneki stuff, or the more disappointing part of the episode. I remember this bit being a lot more sensical in the manga, but it just isn't here. At all. So Kaneki breaks the Awaquinque, which again should feel dramatic, but it doesn't. And so Arima's like, yeah, kill me. And Kaneki's like, nah. And so Arima's like, kill me. And Kaneki's like, nah. And Arima's like, alright. And he slits his neck, and the episode ends. And I'm pretty sure there is a reason for that, and I imagine not in the next episode, because the next episode I think is going to be all Hiroshima, more on that in a bit, but I imagine episode 4 will, clear all that up. I hope. As we move on from this arc. But yeah. That's episode 14. So yeah, it looks like we're getting Hiroshima next week. Next week, I imagine... Just judging by what we see both Amon's appearance, the ending spoils that, not me, and the Mutsuki stuff, which is the beginning of the arc, so I imagine we'll get somehow truncate the shit out of Hiroshima next week. I'm not excited for it. But yeah, that's the state of Tokyo Ghoul now. Look, I was the biggest defender of the original series, of the Shuei Morita original manga adaptation. And I was a big fan. I think Re season 1 made some really smart cuts. There were some awful points that were cut out. A lot of like excess stuff was cut out. All the problems Sui Yoshida has drawing a legible fight scene were cut out. Because again, Sui Yoshida cannot draw a fight scene to save his life. Let's be honest here. Sui Yoshida's art style and Noro's Kagane was a mistake. That was a huge mistake. But like, I can't defend this. I can't. No, I am an apologist. It's what I do. I defended the Alvarez arc in Fairy Tail. I'll defend just about anything. I can't defend this. This is bad. Ugh. Alright. I'm gonna leave this off here because my voice is getting really hoarse. Really sore, I mean. So yeah, that's Tokyo Ghoul episode 14. I'm hoping... I remember way back when Inuyasha did this whole truncated final episodes bit. I remember the beginning was really, like, cut up. Really, really, like, overly fast-paced. But by, like, the final battle, everything kind of worked again. And I'm hoping against hope itself, Ghoul does that. I ain't holding my breath. I am not holding my breath. But we'll see. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed the episode much more than I did, and the video. If you did, feel free to drop me a like, subscribe, or do whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you in the future. Bye.